Yeah, they breathe a little.
Well, I'm glad they breathe. That's good. Everything needs to breathe. Hi, welcome to Unique Minds of the Okanagan. I'm Robb O'Day, and we're on location in Penticton with Mike Nash, an extremely talented stained glass artist. How are you?
Awesome, man.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure, man. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you. Why don't we dive in, start off with who you are,
Right on. Okay.
where you came from, and how you got into stained glass.
Sure. Yeah, cool. Well, Mike Nash. I call myself Kiss My Glass, and I like to make what I call Nashterpieces. I know it's all kind of silly, but so am I. I'm a lifelong glazer, really. My career, most of my life has been working with glass. Auto glass, residential, commercial, all that stuff. And one time, a good friend of ours made my wife a piece of stained glass. And then she said, I'm going to make you one too. And I said, oh, it's such a sweet gift and it's so beautiful. I appreciate it. But really the better gift for me would be to teach me how to do it. And so she did. She gave us, about an hour's worth of lessons. But because I've spent most of my life cutting glass and shaping glass already and working with it, it was really easy for me to pick up. And I just kind of flew with it. And before I knew it, I was making crazy artwork. I had no idea where it came from even. I think the stained glass as a whole is not a really complicated thing to make once you know it. A lot of people can do it, but to do it on the level I do, I think is where it gets more unique. I like to get really rowdy with it. I like to break the rules. I want to make things that people say can't be made and prove them wrong. I want to be able to sit on it and bash it around and prove that you can do a lot with it if you know what you're doing. And so my background as a glazer really helps when I do want to get rowdy with it. I know the tricks I need to be able to pull it together, you could say.
You have a very creative eye with the color choices too, which is what I really enjoy about your artwork. It's not that it's immaculate and it's intricate and deep and detailed. They're not just like simple colors. Like there's so much color in it, and then
that's the goal.
Yeah.
And texture. I really, when I'm picking the glass is one of my favorite parts of the whole process. Before I've even cut a single piece, going through the library of glass I have and choosing the right colors and textures, and then I get every piece I pick out, I start getting the vision more and more as it comes together. And that's before I've even cut one piece. I can see it. I can see it in my mind, how it's going to flow and how those textures are all going to work against each other, with each other, whether it's backlit, front lit, daylight, night. I like to build them into wood frames. So traditionally, obviously, stained glass always in windows and cathedrals and stuff. I want to take it out of the window. I want to put it on the wall like a painting. And by putting LEDs behind it, you're going to totally change everything about it. And I like to, what I call making it dance, really, because, for instance, red glass will not allow blue and green light through it and vice versa. So I'm always thinking about that. If I get my light behind this, now that red's going to go black as soon as the green light comes behind it. Everything else is going to go green. That's going to go black. And that gives this kind of pulsing, you can even make like a heartbeat with it. And I've done that in the past where with a little red gem, and I can make that pulse with some green light behind it and make it actually look like a heartbeat. And I don't think a lot of people think that way when they're putting together a piece of glass. So I think that's really what separates me, is have that eye of, before I even touch a cutter, I can see it in my mind, what's going to happen with it as I build it. So that's kind of the fun part of it for me.
I think adding light to it is such a different dimension. Like we were speaking before about how my mom did stained glass growing up, but it was like very simple, basic things. Mm-hmm. And when you look at it, my mom is obsessed with blue glass, so she used a lot of blue.
It's so beautiful.
And blue, it is very beautiful, but you never think of it with light behind it unless you're looking at it in the window.
Yeah.
But to see it dance is a total, like the videos you send me of what your art can do with just simple light behind it almost takes it, like you said, to another level that's, I don't think, been done. And if it has, it's not very popular.
I don't think so. I follow a lot of stained glass sites and Facebook pages and things like this, obviously, and you really don't see what I do. It's and especially when chairs and things, I like to make it functional. I don't just want a thing in the window. I want something that can be used, a jewelry box or something that just takes it another level than just a piece of glass. I want it to be usable.
Well, I feel like I should be sitting in Bruce Dickinson's house. Right now, you know what I mean? Like, these should be in his house. Yeah. They're absolutely stunning. And like you said, they're like feeling them, usually stained glass is thin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it is
Yeah,
very
you
like
feel like
you
it's-
feel like you're gonna break it, but like
Yeah, so these are made with a
I feel
tempered
comfortable.
sealed unit. So I've got tempered glass, stained glass, tempered glass sandwich in it. So it's made to be used, made to be sat on. And I mean, I'm almost 300 pounds and I got no problem. I sit on it every single day.
that's incredible because I wonder what else you could take it to at that level. Like you could build huge pieces that could go on galleries, but that's just the weight, I guess, would be the big
Weight,
factor.
shipping, it's always it's always my biggest challenge is now I've got it, how am I going to get it anywhere else?
Right?
For sure.
No,
Yeah.
that's true. So when being a glazer, you worked with lots of glass in your day, and what there's probably been moments where you losing fingers is almost a facet.
Wow, let me tell you, there was a time when it was one of those very few moments in my life where I thought that I should have been dead at that moment. And I was a young apprentice and working at a big farmhouse, change all the windows in the house throughout the day. And it was starting to get cold. So it's the end of the day, cleaning up, throwing all the old windows in the truck, and I had a big riding leather jacket with a fold-over leather collar on it. And so at the end of the day, it was chilly. I put my leather on. And the next thing I did was hold this big broken piece of glass that folded in and came down and sliced through 2 pieces of leather and into the other one. And I just thought I had to sit back, sit down for a minute, and my heart settled. And I thought, man, if I hadn't taken that 30 seconds to put my coat on, that's it. It would have took my head right off. So it's so dangerous to work with. It's so easy to get complacent with it. When you are working with it every day, it's always got to be in the back of your mind, that. Got to be careful, even small pieces.
Yeah, that's what I was leading
I always
towards,
have
right?
10 or 12 cuts on my hands, and I'm, knock on wood, I've only needed stitches once in all the years I've worked with glass, and the funniest thing was I wasn't from glass, I needed the stitches. So when I told the doctor I was cutting an onion and made me cry and I closed my eyes and kept cutting, he almost didn't want to stitch me up because I needed to learn the lesson the hard way. So,
Doctors will do that
yeah,
sometimes.
I've been really lucky working with it. I've dodged the bullet all these years, but that was that one time when I almost didn't.
When you're sourcing out your glass, like, is it someone who doesn't work with stained glass? I'm always like, how do you find the color and the different pieces? Do you go to do you upcycle and cut them down? Or are there like places you can buy giant sheets?
Yeah, for sure. We're really lucky in the Okanagan. We've got a couple of really great suppliers here. In Kelowna, there's a really good glass shop called Fusion Glass, who is an amazing selection for everything I need. And as well in Armstrong, there's a great little company called T&J Homecrafts in their basement. It's just a wonderful couple who work out of their house and make some really cool glass, and have an amazing selection of products for sale too. A lot of places people have to go. In the States, for instance, there'll be 2 or 3 states they have to travel just to find a piece of stained glass, and or paying for shipping, and you never know. You can't hands-on shop for that. You're buying everything online.
Yeah.
So it's really important for me to be able to go there, see what they have, know what they have in the back of my mind when I'm putting a plan together. I can say, okay, well, yeah, I need that color, and I know they got it, or hopefully they can get it for me before too long of a wait. Because if I do have to buy from the States, well, we know how that goes with all the extra import fees and costs associated. It really prices it out of the...
And then you're also having to deal with, is it going to come in one piece?
Yeah, and again, luckily so far I've had really good luck with that, and most of the suppliers know how to package good enough. But what I did find when I'm shipping my own artwork is I never labeled it fragile, because every single time I've labeled something fragile, it looks like they played soccer with it on the way there. But if I don't, it comes perfectly fine every time. So from now on, there's no labeling anything. It's just...
Comes down to the don't tell me what to do moments.
Yeah,
for the
really. Yeah,
employees.
that's what it's like. I'm having a bad day. Heck with this guy.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
so with years of experience and working into it, what has been like the biggest hurdle for you personally to overcome with your art?
I think the purists, to be honest, when I don't put my work out to a lot of places, because there's a lot of these purists that want to say you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't make it like that, it's never going to work. And they criticize instead of saying, wow, this guy did something totally different, I couldn't believe it. And it gets frustrating, and I don't put myself out there because I don't take criticism very good. I just build stuff that I want to build, and that's cool to me. a lot of people aren't going to find that cool. A lot of people just want hummingbirds and butterflies and flowers, and that's wonderful. And I've made some really beautiful hummingbirds and butterflies and flowers, but it's not for me. It's not what really drives my passion. So I want to make metal. I want to make rock and roll. I want to make stuff that no one's ever seen.
I think that's what I was really like, as personally as a metalhead and being in a metal band and seeing your work, it instantly reminded me of the artist who we work with that does our album covers.
Ah, cool.
There's something different about the artwork that is in the rock and roll industry, metal industry, that is super intricate and detailed, and I think a lot of people don't realize how much work goes into that.
For sure.
And then to replicate that with glass is... I don't think there's a lot of people who could be able to do that transition.
I think you're right there. I got a case in point actually, because with my masterpiece trays that I like to make, I did a Sublime one once, and the 40 ounces, the Freedom cover. And I was always nervous, licensing and issues, but it's not for sale, so if it's not for sale, I don't feel so bad about recreating it. But I'm always worried about that, and a guy on one of the pages I follow, he says, "Hey man, I saw that Sublime you made, and check this out." I went to school with the guy, his name's Opie Ortiz, and he's the guy who did the original artwork for that album in the 90s. And he said, "Look what he did." And he took my stained glass tray, put it on his Facebook page as his profile picture, and said, "I'm so honored to still be inspiring artists after all these years," And it was like one of the greatest moments ever. I actually made Opie Ortiz, it was just like, yeah, I finally got a good one, eh? And that was, to date, at that time, one of the hardest pieces I'd ever made. So 350 pieces of glass in a little 18-inch frame. So it's a lot of work, and I don't know. I don't like people saying it's not for me after I put that much work into something.
Yeah,
right?
I think it is because art is not for everyone.
Right.
Art is for specific people, and if it is art for everyone, we had a conversation with Andrene Shepherd, who is a local artist, and she said that art's not for everyone. If it was for everyone, it would be the art that you buy at Walmart.
Yeah, that's right. It'd be so boring.
You don't really appreciate it. But I think that's not everybody appreciates Picasso, but that's what made Picasso Picasso.
Right. Yeah.
Or Da Vinci in his time wasn't as appreciated until 300, 400 years down the road, right? So
for sure, and the controversial, the things that they make were controversial and made people go, "Oh man, he cut his ear off," and said that controversies are made those guys really, who they are.
I think you have that though too with these purists who say that what you do is not stained glass, and everywhere I'm looking in the house is magic.
Thanks, man.
I've seen stained glass that you can buy anywhere, but what I'll show eventually on this camera, because I don't know if we can with this one, but some of the stuff that's in here is absolutely mind-blowing.
Nobody eats their supper on a stained glass table.
No, or gets to sit on giant Iron Maiden thrones.
Yeah, man, for sure. Eh?
It's insane to think that.
I love when guests come over for the first time. It's my favorite thing, and they know I make some neat things, but they've never been really immersed in it until they get here, and the whole house glows with LED lights, and everything gets a little bit magical when you walk in here in the evening, and the looks on people's faces, it takes their breath away in a way, and that's really cool. I mean, even my doorway.
I know, I keep looking at it.
When you at first glance, you look at it, oh, that's pretty nice, but when you start looking at some of the intricacies and the pieces involved in there, anytime you take a piece of glass and you make an indented cut into it like that, you put a lot of stress on that piece of glass, and there's a huge risk of it breaking. And that's why a lot of people say you can't do that. However, that's made with some of the most intricate, hardcore cuts I've ever made that took literally hundreds and hundreds of hours. And the other thing with it, we'll show a picture of it later, the rain glass in that only flows one way. So to get every one of those pieces to flow properly without it looking all mishmash and hodgepodge, I had to take so much time and care to line everyone. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
Nobody
my
would
brain's
ever
now
understand.
starting to focus on the individual pieces, the separate colors, the different types of glasses. And when you're looking at it, you're like, oh, that's just one piece. But it's like, no.
How did it get there?
How did...
Yeah. And now to prove the point, and this is my favorite part, is that door gets opened and closed and slammed, and my dog beats it, and 20, 30 times a day it gets smashed around, and there's not a broken piece in it still after 2.5 years. So to those that say you can't do that, I say, sure I can.
Well, and like that even right there in itself is a market. How many people would want to have a custom built glass door?
I think a lot until they know the price.
Right, and that's the thing is glass isn't cheap.
Yeah.
And that's where we were talking before is like, how do you actually put a value on something that is, it's a masterpiece. Like you can't.
Masterpiece, surely you meant.
Exactly, right? Like you can't do it because.
No, it's really hard. And so the cost involved is extra, it's through the roof, really. Just to get the materials, it's
but
unbelievable.
But then your time and
how do you put a value on 300 hours of life? Yeah, it's tough.
Like I could see like newer churches hiring you to build their new stuff. Like you've got this skill level from like the Masonic times where people don't have that anymore. You know what I mean? Like
it's definitely a bit of a lost art,
you see in the cathedrals in Europe and stuff are just like so intricate and detailed, but you're taking it even further. And like those are the ones that are the last forever. So I feel like it just needs to get out there, and that's the thing is it's like you said, how do you get it out there when it's built of glass?
Yeah, I've been hesitant to also, like I purposely have kept my followings on social media and stuff to friends and family, and it's spreading out a little bit more now, but I don't know, I don't like criticism. I don't like people giving me their opinions. I don't know. It's weird. I just make what I want to make, and
right.
I do get hired a lot. I've been hired last year. In fact, I had a friend hire me. He sent me on Valentine's Day last year a picture. He said, "Hey, can you make this?" I said, "Yeah, it's pretty cool. I can make it, but I need to talk to the original artist first because we need to get licensed for this. It's a big piece." And this artist is out of the Netherlands. Her name's Miki Hackart, and Art of Maquenda is her name. I'm okay saying it because she's totally given me free license to use any of her artwork. If she loved what I did so much.
That's awesome.
So I made a really stellar piece for him. It's over 5 feet tall, and the frames are awesome. So after I sent that to him, he's like, "Man, my shop that I have it hanging in is off balance now. I need another one." So I said to Miki, "Hey, do you mind if I make another one for him?" He's like, "Oh, dude, right on." So I did that one. That was really awesome too. And then I made her a piece, one of her favorite pieces that she's ever done as a wolf head. I made this special wolf head and shipped it off to the Netherlands as a thank you for. And it solidified a lifelong friendship. Even though I've never met her, probably never will. Hopefully I will. It's just really cool to build that bond and connection with an amazing artist who's really really huge over there, and now I have license to make anything of hers I want, which is the one behind us up here, is one of hers as well.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah. So when it came time for me to make one for myself, it's like that's the one that really resonated with me. I love it. So first they must catch you. If they're gonna get you, they gotta catch you.
And I think that's the thing about artists is. If you were to be like mass producing their art and selling it for tons of money, it'd be a different situation.
Yeah.
To like almost like giving homage to the
that's
artist,
exactly
right?
What she said, "You've honored me with it," and that's all that matters, right?
Yeah,
and by asking permission is so important.
Even if I guarantee you right now, if Bruce Dickinson or any of the guys from Iron Maiden got to see what you've made, just out of the love that you have for their music, they would be mind blown.
Bruce,
yeah,
give me a call, buddy.
Right, like. It's absolutely insane.
It's on sale for you today only.
You can see this, and that's the Trooper, right?
Yeah.
Like this is
the Trooper.
Stunning, and that's so cool. It's like each one is a different album cover.
So I went to Legacy of the Beast concert in Vancouver with a good friend who's now since passed with cancer. He was on his last legs when we got to go to the concert together. And he was like the old, Wicked concert, and we did a lot of concerts growing up. And he was the first older guy in school. I did the play Grease, the musical Grease in high school, and he was the first cool older guy to take me under his wing and make me feel like a cool guy. And I was a real nerd in school. I still am, but he taught me otherwise, and And so when he was getting sick and going, we had that chance to go to the concert, and I was standing there at the last curtain call, and they're singing "Run to the Hills," and we're arm in arm, and it's just brotherhood. And I knew it was the last time we're gonna be together doing that. You know, it was so important to me, and so I bought the album, the tour cover, the booklet, and this set was on the front of the tour booklet, and the whole tour, the backdrops are all done. You know, as we play, and it's all stained glass, everything in the backdrops, obviously just images, but I couldn't resist. When I got home, I started immediately on it. But the only reason I could afford to even build this set was I was lucky enough to inherit an Indigenous artist who passed away in Oliver. I used to work at a golf course in Salmon Arm, and this customer was there, and he heard me talking about my glasswork. He said, "Hey, I think I got something for you, bud. I'm going to send you an email later." And this video showed up that night. This amazing workshop, all this stuff. He's like, "I don't know what it's worth, but let me know. If you want it, you can have it." And I said, "Man, I can't afford it." I said, "I had like $500 to my name." I said, I'll give you $500 if you let me come and pick through the things, and I'll show you what the values are." And, you know, he's like, no. I'm going to start the negotiations at 200. He said, "Okay." So I went and bought it. And it was literally, I had the book with all the receipts of what the guy had purchased. And it was over 14 grand worth of glass, grinders, soldering irons, you name it. It was unbelievable, the whole workshop. So I loaded it up and brought it home, and he said, "I just want to make sure it goes to someone that's going to make something with it and not just flip it and sell it and make a profit." So I made this to buy all the different glass and textures and things I needed to make it true to the originals would have cost thousands and thousands of dollars. So that allowed me to rock and roll, you could say.
It's kind of like what we were saying earlier about the manifestation. Like the universe just kind of drops
That's right.
things
Just
in your
drop
lap,
it, yeah.
and you just
right when you
roll
need
with
it the most, too. You know,
if you roll with it. And that's kind of like how I feel about this and about other things that I do. But it's just kind of, people who have struggled tend to get that, and they roll with it and they create magic. And I think that's why I'm so drawn to the arts community, and why artists are so important to me, is like the things that they can create strictly out of the mind is mind-blowing.
Yeah, and I don't even know where it comes from, you know. And the inspiration can literally come from anywhere. I was driving down the road and hit a pothole, and there's a stick on the side of the road. I had to swerve to miss, and boom! I got to make this thing with a feather and this thing, and it just popped into my head. Next thing you know, and a couple days later, I make a pretty cool piece of glass because I had to miss that pothole. I don't know. Just pops in for the weirdest.
And it's not even just glass, because you also, like, you did the actual woodworking on this and the leather work,
which is my favorite part. Actually, glass is horrible. It's monotonous. It's boring. It's like putting a jigsaw together that never wants to be finished. And you finally get to that point where it's done. You know, okay, now it's done. Now I get to make it into something other than glass, and that's when my heart really gets beating. And I mean, these were done on a napkin. I drew a little thing. Okay, I can make it that size, do this, and then all of a sudden, in a few days, I got a throne and table. I don't know where it comes from, but it's just the skills I've developed over all the years of working with it. And as a residential glazer, you're always working with wood, doing trims, doing all, you know, outdoor trim, indoor trim, everything. So you learn how to use wood, and then for some reason, I have an eye to use all kinds of recycled metal bits and upholstery tacks. And upholstery tacks are kind of my thing. I try to incorporate them in almost everything I make because I love that look. I want everything I make to look like it could be on Game of Thrones set or something. Really inspired by medieval stuff.
Yeah. And I think that's like, maybe not so much medieval times, but the like mid times where the craftsmanship was so different. It was at a different level than we have now.
Yeah.
And I think that mainly when it came to the arts, not like our building of houses and our structures and our architecture is always going to last, and it's always a small portion of what defines a culture, but it's always art.
Yeah.
Art is what defines a culture at the end of the time.
And what seems to outlive everything else. Yeah.
Like, we have pictographs from caveman times that are still like, we have nothing else from them except for bones, but we still have their artwork, and that to me is like, it goes just to show how valuable it is to us at our core.
Absolutely.
It just is art. It is something we naturally have to do, and there are I find like there's three types of people. There's like the workers, the thinkers, and then there's the creatives. And they all balance each other out perfectly for society, because you need the people who are going to get things done, the people who are going to think of it, and then you have the ones who are entertaining, the crafters, that push the limits.
It's true, and I'm kind of both, right? Like I'm a laborer my whole life. I love doing what I do. I love working with glass, and then at the same time, I always thought, I've always been interested because I've always worked with glass, always cutting glass. How could I make that the art form? How can you do stained glass? I never knew. I didn't even know where to start. I didn't even think, just YouTube and figure it out. Suddenly I figured it out. But I remember my boss one year making these little glass Christmas trees. He cut like 50 little squares of different sizes and put them all together, and he made these cool little trees. That was my first experience of watching glass be turned into art, and I was blown away by what he was making that day. And now it's so simple. I could build in about 6 minutes. But then I was like, oh, this is unbelievable. How can I make what I can do into art? And all of a sudden it just popped one day. And I mean, obviously not one day. I couldn't make this in one day, but it didn't take very long to progress from my first little drawing of my own pattern. And I was like, okay, I was so proud of it. I made a friend of mine one of my masterpiece trays, and it's her initials with a couple little mushrooms. And it's so juvenile, it looks like a little kid drew it, and but all of a sudden now I can draw up a pattern for at least a 5-foot piece that my drawing skills have improved tenfold just by starting to make patterns and figuring that stuff out. And I never could have drawn anything my whole life, Suddenly at 46 years old I was able to feel like an artist.
That's the thing is like people probably hear me talk about this all the time. It's a running theme that I've found while talking to creatives this year mainly, is that age is a number.
Yeah.
And that the older I get, the less I realize, or the less I care for the judgment that people have, where you have to make your career by a certain age, you're never going to.
Yeah, that's right.
But like I say it all the time, like Henry Ford didn't start Ford until he was 50.
Yeah. So
sitting under 50, you're still capable of creating an entire new life.
Yeah, that's
You're not
right.
like where people think like, oh, I'm in my 40s, like it's ending soon, but it's not. It's just starting.
Yeah.
And that's been such a huge motivational factor for me lately.
It's up to you if you want to make that next chapter amazing or make it humdrum, whatever you want. And the world's your oyster, really.
Especially
really
with art. Like you're never too old to pick up an instrument. You're never too old to learn how to draw.
Absolutely.
There is no age limit on it. Like there's an age limit on sports. There's an age limit on being able to be in specific jobs or things because your body's going to wear down. But to be creative, your mind doesn't wear down unless you have, like dementia and things like that.
A great case in point is my mother-in-law. She's in her, well, I don't want to say how old she is, in her, let's say, silver-haired years. And all of a sudden, she just decided to paint one day. And she started painting little flowers and painting little birds. And now she's painting every day. And she's absolutely loving it. Her house is filled with paintings. And it's given her some new inspiration, something to look forward to every day instead of the same old. And this is, in the later part of her 60s. She's just developed it. And she's amazing at it. So just popped one day. I'm going to try it again. Oh, look at that. I can do it.
And I think it's that... It usually comes down to a self-doubt of being like, I can't do it. But to realize like the worst thing you can hear in life from anything is no or failing. And failing isn't a bad thing. It's kind of the next step to becoming successful.
Yeah.
And I find like that's where like Thomas Edison, being a Tesla fan, Thomas Edison is,
You bet.
But I always believe in the fact that he said that he 1,000 different ways not to build a light bulb. And he found one way that he
one
could.
way that worked.
And I think that's what separates like the artists who push the limits like yourself versus the artists who just stick to the box because that's what's normal.
Case in point, I have that. Usually I make my own frames, but every once in a while I'll find a frame that I absolutely love at an antique store, so I'm going to have it. So I found this frame. It was $68 with this old mirror, and normally that's ridiculous for me to spend any money like that. And I can make my own for way cooler and way cheaper. And but I bought it, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna make this really cool skull with some roses and all these gold leaf work, and I put probably 100 hours into this thing to get it ready. And I sat back and I hated it. I hated everything about it, and I got mad and I just started pulling it off the table and the paper and clink, 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 and hundreds of pieces of glass clinking into the garbage can. And I felt really rewarding, actually. After, part of me's like, oh, I should have saved those roses. They would have at least been beautiful. But I just, like, it wasn't right. It wasn't going to be perfect for me. I didn't want to see it come together. And most people are like, you're crazy. I would have bought that. No, that's not the point. It's not for me. It wasn't sitting here. It wasn't perfect. So my friend Dean, Dean Winkleman, he's got the Legacy Den Gallery here in town. He said it the best I've ever heard it. As an artist, we are, now, sorry, I can't remember. What's the word he used? We don't compromise, right?
No.
If it's not perfect, it's not going to work. So we get rid of it until it's perfect. And we're a hobbyist. Close enough, right? I'm not a hobbyist. Nothing is close enough in my world, and then what I make, it has to be perfect. What I make is a game of perfection. I'm following a pattern. If I miss by a millimeter, it sends the rest of it out. By the time I'm done, it'll be out by 3/4 of an inch. You know?
It's like bricklaying.
Yeah, exactly the
if
same.
Anything is off, right?
Yeah,
And that's
it's really got to be.
And
perfect.
I don't think people realize when you're appreciating, when you're looking at art, you look at it for, like I was saying, like looking at the door. You look at the door, naturally your brain's like, oh, that was crafted like that, like came out of a machine like that or something, right? But then
just rolled off the press.
You start to like break it down mentally, and you're looking at it, and the top 6 inches alone have what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 30 pieces of glass.
And so let's factor in probably 25 minutes to 30 minutes for each one of those pieces by the time you're done that thing.
But what's really getting me is the shadowed aspect of the bamboo.
Yes, sir.
Is the right? Like you look at it and you're like, okay, wait, now there's 4 layers on a flat surface, strictly due to.
Now what you don't see is the iridescence in those flowers, and you won't see that until nighttime when there's no light behind that door. But every one of those flowers and every one of those light green leaves has an iridescent, oily sheen to it.
So cool.
And it will completely change tonight when the sun goes down.
It's so cool.
It's so fun, man.
It's like I get to see lots of different arts, but you never really get to see stained glass artists. Like you get to see, like you said, hobbyists.
Yeah.
But to be like an artist, like a person who takes it to another level that invokes emotion. That's what art is to me, right? You know what I mean? Like you can look at paintings, but it's like, eh.
Yeah.
But then you there's something that clicks with something that's magic.
Yeah, it's the difference between a Banksy and something that somebody's painted in a backyard studio.
Yeah,
he's got that thing that makes you feel it.
Yeah, and I think that like even funny that you use Banksy now as a reference, because Banksy himself is the one. Banksy and Shepard Fairey are huge influences into like the street art graffiti becoming popular. And one thing I find super entertaining as an art fan is how hated graffiti is still to this day, even though we've been doing graffiti since we were cavemen, because we still have the pictographs to this day. That is graffiti. That is what they were doing. Painting on a wall. We're painting on walls, but it's considered illegal. So I find it like it's funny how specific arts are accepted more mainstream than others. So like it's weird because you think that stained glass would be a huge style of artwork that continued after like the Renaissance and the Middle Ages where it was very popular. Then it just all of a sudden died.
And I get people still to say, I don't get it. I don't get all the color. I don't see why you do that. You know, there's always going to be that. And it's not going to be for everybody, for sure. But it's for me. What I make
think they
is
just
for
look
me.
at it like it's glass. But it's like you got to separate it. Like a painting is just paint.
Yeah.
Without the artist, it's just paint.
Yeah.
On it, but without the mind that's behind it, that creates it, I think is.
Yeah, that's all.
I think that's where also, like we were saying earlier, like art is for specific people. There are people in the world that do not understand art.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And there are
the
people.
Same as music, man.
And those, I don't trust those people. People who don't.
Or dogs.
When I meet someone who says, I don't listen to music, I'm like, you are not a human.
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
We naturally gravitate to wanting to dance together.
Just get out.
Yeah. I don't know. As a musician, my whole life, I'm like, I don't understand those people. It's like, it's just a weird one to me. I'm like, how do you live?
Yeah.
Like, what goes on in your head? And like thoughts? That scares me.
Yeah, really. That's how you tune everything out, man. Bring it in.
Music, right?
Yeah.
So when you became an artist and you're slowly doing it, what was we talked about the biggest challenge you had, but what was like the most, this is going to be what I do for the rest of my life moment, besides the one you had with the Sublime artist?
Yeah, honestly, that was where I really felt like I'm on to something for sure. And then, pieces just started selling. Every time I'd put one out and put it for sale, and then I'd be, okay, this is going to its new home. Seems like that's when somebody else would call up and say, hey, that was cool, but could you make me something now, like my own favorite band? I don't want to say any names, but yeah, so I'd make a few different things for people there, and then slowly, one by one, they started selling more and more, and then as COVID hit, prices went through the roof on everything. Like my solder tripled in price overnight. All the glass, everything I use just went through the roof. So my pricing on, say, one of my trays, from instead of $750, now it's $1,500, and people go, oh, $1,500, no, I can't afford that. Well, I can't afford to make it for you for free, so that's what it is if you want it. But then there's always the ones that appreciate it more and see the value in it and have to have it. And I've stayed really busy with commission work and people just saying, hey, could you do this? Oh, sure, I think I could do that. And I got a cannabis store next door, and I was set up at a market at their place once. And I didn't have a good day. We didn't really sell anything in the market. It was really slow. And then she came up and said, hey, I really like those trays. Can you make me my logo into a tray? And I made the most beautiful tray for her. And they have this rotten old barn. And I said, let me steal a couple of boards out of that old barn. And I used those old wood. I clear coated right over the dirt, the grime of 100 years of life, old nails and everything in there, and put it all together as the bottom and the box. And it's my favorite bottom of any box. I really want to do, when I make a tray, I want to put something really special on the inside for everybody. And I customize and personalize the insides as much as I can. So that oh, wow, this is amazing. And you pull that lid off, and you get this little extra dose of amazing in there that's not glass now, it's different things, And so when she opened that up and she saw those boards in the bottom, literally tears in her eyes, right? Because it don't matter if that barn gets ripped down and it's disappeared, it's never seen again. There's that 100 years of memories that'll always be in the bottom of that box for her to have, to carry anywhere it goes. So it's never going to be truly gone. That was a really special one for sure. I just love customizing them. I love it when it means something to somebody, when I know that it's going there. And so, for instance, this piece I just finished, I just sent it to Massachusetts from here. Oh, wow. 4,800 kilometer trip once it's done. A few months ago, at the start of the year, I lost my stepdad and my real dad within a week of each other, and so I'm in grieving. And this woman reaches out on Facebook saying, I lost my husband and his brother within a couple months of each other, and I want someone to memorialize them. So a friend who follows me and loves my work recommended me to her. She reached out, and we went for it. And so Wayne and Timmy, she says they were a lot of saint and a little sinner, she said. And I was like, okay, these are my boys. And so we went with it. And she said, we grew up in a religious household, so I want a traditional cathedral-style window with like saint bodies and their faces put on the bodies. And I'd never done anything like that before, but yeah, I think I can pull it off. So we went with it, and I made some really cool panels for her. And she just got them this week, and she's just installing them right now, and I cannot wait because I know how much it means. The day she got them, they were having their name is Wayne and Timmy Grant. They were having a Grant family barbecue that weekend. And so she just received them and got to show the whole Grant family these panels that she had made. And, not a dry eye in the house, obviously, right? So that's the stuff that I would do all day long. And I don't even need to get paid for that stuff. I charge her the cost of materials and shipping, basically. I didn't want to make money off it if it means that much. Sure, I was grieving too, and I'm going through it, and I would just really, if somebody did that for me at that time, it would mean the world. So
I think that's what probably made that piece so magical, is because you were putting your grief into it to help her with hers.
Absolutely.
And it just kind of like that right there is like, those are the moments that really matter as an artist. Versus,
all about the feel, man. That's the whole point of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's definitely those magic moments. It's like when you're standing out.
I would rather sell something to somebody to cover the cost and not make anything because they love it than to sell that same piece to someone else who wants to give me $1,000 extra. But it's
gonna sit on a shelf
It's
and
gonna sit there and collect dust and not be used, whatever. I'm not interested. I'd rather just keep it and not have the $1,000. Thanks.
Right, and that's
Yeah.
where it's hard as like an artist because it's a piece of you going out. It's not just like something you created. It's like I always say, like being a band is like being in a marriage with 4 other members. And your baby is the band, but you all have a different perspective on what's best for the baby.
Yeah, no kidding.
So it's like art is your baby, and it is very valuable to you. And I think that's why artists also don't take criticism good, is because it's like you're insulting a piece of me that I'm putting out on the table. And it's like, and if people don't know what it's like to do that, like they probably have those exact same people probably have a hard time being criticized at work.
Oh, for sure.
Over a crappy job they do, but that's not something they're creating. You know what I mean? So it takes a very brave person to put something out there and wait for the world to naturally have its criticism. But I think the best thing as an artist is just to never pay attention to it.
That's it.
And that's like one of the biggest pieces of advice I've ever been given to by friends who have really high social media followings and are very successful at what they do in the music industry. Is don't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
You just don't. But like, just let it happen.
Do your thing. The ones that love it are going to love it. The ones that don't, you're not going to change their mind.
Haters are going to hate. Yeah. And they push you further than the people that support you.
I love it. They're my favorite.
That's exactly what it is, right? Like the people who do not like you are going to complain. So I like to say it as like one good fan will spread the word about 10 to 10 friends, and one, or like a success, like a happy customer will say they were good to 10 friends. But if you have one bad customer, that person's going to tell 100 people that you suck, but those 100 people are now going to be looking at you.
Yeah. It could be the best thing that ever happened.
Like, we all don't agree with Kanye, but the guy seems to be on everybody's feeds and talking, right? So it's like controversy creates that.
Kanye, if you want something made, give me a shout, buddy. I'm right here, man.
Could you imagine? Oh, boy. But it's the, like, I think that controversy is, like you were saying earlier, like Van Gogh cutting his ear off, or Da Vinci being such an eccentric person and a recluse at the same time, because the dude's just so busy, like creating submarines and helicopters and behind the scenes, and no one else is.
Stuff you don't even
when
know,
people are worried about, like, oh, what am I going to dress up and go out tonight? Like, it's changing the future, and that's the creatives. That's the artist in us that is constantly pushing.
Creating the future is a great way to put it. And for me, I don't have children. I don't have any legacy whatsoever when I'm gone from this earth other than this. And I know there'll be a lot of it around when I'm long gone.
Well, I mean, legacy is a total perspective, right? Because, like, the Russian family, like the Russian royal family, right? Like 400, 500 years of legacy gone overnight and forgotten for a long time. Because so it's like legacy is what you attach to people, what you have given to people is the legacy, like you were saying. That's necessarily having kids is not a legacy. It's just creating more humans to carry on being humans. But a legacy is you.
Leaving your mark.
Yeah. And I think that's a very valuable thing, because I think a lot of people do struggle with that concept of I have to be something and leave something behind so that the world remembers me. But I think, like, in actuality, like, history is only a small portion of what has actually happened in history. Like, what is written versus what has actually been done. So there's so many amazing artists and musicians that have gone and don't make it, and then all of a sudden years later they're huge. Like the one lady from Stranger Things. She had a song in the 70s, and it didn't make it anywhere really, and then all of a sudden it was in Stranger Things and blew up to the younger generation, and now her music's like coming back. And it's like, what you put out there will always be there, like you were saying.
It's sublime. Bradley Noel. Nobody even heard of him until after he was gone, and suddenly
basically,
they're a huge band, So same thing. You just hey, you leave your mark on the earth, and if it's appreciated, right on. That's all I can hope for.
It's true. Besides working with glass and wood and enjoying music, what other kind of hobbies do you have? How do you de-stress yourself from building all of these amazing pieces of
Yeah,
work?
we stay active, man. We love to bike ride. We're kayaking. I mean, the wife, she's a hooper, so I spend a lot of time with her, being her camera guy and following her around. And we like to just go around our city and just kind of highlight all these beautiful spots we have, and at the same time highlight my beautiful wife and her amazing skills. And so that's something we do a lot of, is just tour the town and constantly making content for her. A lot of fun with that, and she's the light of everybody's life. Everybody she comes in contact with, she brightens their life, and so we really make a point of getting out there with her to do that. That's her superpower in the world. So it's amazing what she can do.
Do you guys find it difficult being the age that we are and having to like work on social media like the younger base does? I have a really hard time doing that.
Yeah.
That transition into being like we were raised not to be narcissistic almost, and it's
right.
you know what I mean. So
Yeah,
it's very
here
hard to be put on a camera.
Look at how good
look
I
at
am.
me, look how cool.
Yeah, I'm so bad
I
at it.
struggle so
Yeah,
bad.
I really am. And I'm a behind the scenes guy. For me to be on this camera is ridiculous right now. For me. I want to be filming her and put her foremost because, and that's where I get all the likes. But really, she's yeah. It's weird. It is weird being an old guy, and you know, I'm 52 this year. So growing up, we had the first computers in our school, but there was no such thing as internet. And we were playing the Oregon Trail, and that was all you could do on the bloody things. Had I known that we could study those computers and become extremely wealthy by becoming computer nerds in the next 20 years, I probably would have considered concentrating on that a little more. Instead, I played Oregon Trail and thought it was never going to become anything.
It's a good game.
So yeah, I'm not very computer literate at all, but I'm good enough that I can get her out there and put my work out to the people that want to see it, I guess. And
I think passion also shines through, right?
it does, yeah. We can blumber our way through it and be ridiculous old people on Facebook, but at the same time, I think the passion really shows through. And even though my videos are horrible, I think people can appreciate the work. Problem with glass is no video or picture will ever show the true beauty of it until you're standing right in front of it. So it's a bit of a letdown sometimes when I put a lot of time and you stand there, it's so amazing. And then I look at it online like, oh, well, that kind of sucks. But
yeah, lighting with glass would be a definite hard one, especially when it's colored, like you're saying, because it bounces and it breathes.
Yeah.
Trying to capture that one split second where you're like, oh, there it is. And then you got to wait 30 seconds for the lights to come back around to do it again. So,
or I got my thumb in front of the camera.
Have you ever tried hooping?
Yeah, I got a few tricks. Yeah, people always, because we're at the beach constantly, and people flock to her and talk to her, and then they inevitably say, well, can you do it? and my first response is, well, I'd have to lube up. But I pull out a few tricks and get some hoots and hollers for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
With being a creative, we still got a little bit of time, so I'm going to pick your brain a little more. Better question. What is the next step for you? What do you think you're going to push towards? Because you're never going to stop creating.
Never going to stop, no.
And you have so many unique ideas.
Yeah.
And they're all so different.
So it definitely is. I see things morphing. I love to work with recycled stuff. I just got a welder. I've never welded in my life, but I have a vision for making a metal statue we were talking about earlier. And it's going to be awesome when I do it. And I have a couple of really good friends that are in that field that I'm going to go to for some guidance. And I'm looking forward to that down the road. Who knows when that's going to happen. But I got an amazing project in my mind to build a huge metal sculpture that incorporates stained glass on the inside. And it will have some, well, I don't want to give too much away, but it'll have some viewing holes.
Cool.
To be able to look into different angles, see different things from different angles and whatnot. And that's one of my big projects I want to do. I love making chessboards. I've made a couple of really cool chessboards in the past. I've sold one to a high-end collector here in town that was a really big check mark for me. That my work was really appreciated the way it should have been for that one. Really special piece and really hard to let go of, but I made one, I can make another one, right? And make it better next time. So I got a series of chessboards I want to make because they come together nice, and they like that Game of Thrones theme on a table. It sits there, it looks so majestic. Like it could fit in any royal palace or any junky trailer you can find, you know?
That's the thing too, is it's like, I think stained glass, I think that's why being like a total history geek, because I absolutely love history and learning where we went wrong so that we could change the future.
Right on.
And looking at like and understanding the art through the periods and what really resonated with society was realistically literature, music, acting, and because of the church,
Yeah.
painting on stained glass.
Yeah, and that glass it survived World War II. I mean, all those cathedrals, they survived all that bomb in World War One, and somehow all those amazing ancient pieces of glass survive. And of course, the Notre Dame fire did a lot of damage, and that was really sad for me to watch all that glass go up. But it's being expertly reconstructed, and that's the beauty of it. It was made once; it can be remade.
That's the thing, though, is like, do you think that the skill factors are there still with the glass?
Very limited amount of people, but definitely there's some really exceptional, and that's a totally different type of glass work than what I do. I do what's called the Tiffany method with copper foil. Although I have worked with lead a lot in the past, I prefer doing the Tiffany.
Those ones are based with lead?
Lead cane mostly, yeah, and that's the traditional way. They didn't have this sticky foil tape to be able to do all this crazy rowdy stuff that I do. That's the only way I can get the pieces that I make, is because I have that foil tape that allows me to. With the glass won't solder to glass. I guess I better explain it to people. You need to have some form of a metal in between in order to adhere them together. So we use this copper foil. It's very thin backed, and it just sticks on. You wrap it and meticulously have to make sure every piece is perfect. So now that I've got my whole piece together, I have to rip it all apart, foil every one of these things, and put it all back together. And
that was the one part, watching my mom have it ready prepped, and then all of a sudden have to take it apart again, and I was always so confused why she was taking it apart after she spent all this time.
Man, it sucks, let me tell you. Yeah,
So
but then you
funny.
watch it come together.
Yeah, because it is like it's a totally different. You see it as a whole piece, but then you have to like actually step outside of the box and look at it and realize how many tiny pieces are there. Each one is connected with solder or the foil, like you said, and then to keep it all intact too, it's like it's mind blowing because it's glass. It's like
and a little flour's no problem, but a 6 foot
when you're
full
getting
of
to
400
like
or 500
a
pieces
dining
of glass.
room table or like the light there, and like things like.
And every single time you handle it, you risk breaking every single piece. And my wife broke a piece on me yesterday. I was so distraught. And one of my favorite pieces, and she just, without thinking, knocked it off the table, and then she says, "Did I break it?" Yeah, dear. Although, in her defense, we have had some hit the ground that didn't break. But
It's kind of like mind-blowing to think about how many masterpieces in time were built and then all of a sudden just like transport gone. Right? God. Like it's another one like I can't.
I'll tell you what, I was shipping from here to Massachusetts, 4,800 kilometers. I thought it was going to be a week of sleepless nights. It got there in 2 days, so I only had 2 sleepless nights. But every single time I ship something, it's devastating for me to watch it go into someone else's hands, because are they going to treat it like it should? Those pieces I made, the big pieces, they were for a customer in Dawson Creek. So instead of risking a transport company with these 8-foot boxes, I just threw them in my truck and drove them up. So it's a 2,400 kilometer trip. A lot of money and fuel, hotel room, everything you need, but at least I know it got there.
Yeah.
I put so many hours into that. I just couldn't risk letting someone else handle it. Had to be in my own hands. It's the only way I'd be able to sleep.
Yeah. Like, and that's one thing, like, too, because, like, it'd be so cool to see these in, like, a gallery, almost, where you're, like, you get to actually see them in person, and people could come see them, but it's, how do you get it there, right?
Carefully.
And then you start to
very
think
carefully.
about, like, how do normal exhibits, and it's just, the art industry itself, when you start to think about the behind process of what goes into it, just to even show art is pretty insane.
It really is, yeah. And I had an exhibit at a gallery downtown a couple summers ago. Not everything, but a few big pieces. Just getting those down there was an absolute nightmare. And it's only a couple kilometers down the road, and every little bump, every little rock, you feel you jar it. It's scary, but I do package really well. It's my own fear. I package good enough that I could probably put it on a train and it would make it no problem. But
You think if you built them like that it would be less...
Having the tempered glass,
the tempered glass with
definitely,
it?
that really makes it way stronger.
But the
for
tempered
sure.
glass is probably pretty thick, so then it'd be...
With these, what I do, because we're sitting on the front of it, I make it thicker. It's going to be 5 mil on the front, and then on the back, I use a 3 mil. Because if you do 5 and 5, it gets really heavy. You don't think that 2 mils is much, but it makes it way heavier. So
That's kind of what I was thinking, is like, do you think does it add a significant amount of...
big time.
Of weight to it if you're
And
tempering
expense.
everything?
Yeah, and expense too, for sure. Yeah.
You don't think about that too, right? Like the expenses, like, for example, how much does a 5 foot by 4 foot piece of glass cost?
Just like a tempered piece of glass?
Yeah, just a normal see-through, not blue, not color, just
Yeah,
a sheet of glass.
$150 or something, yeah.
And then you have to go in and like the colors.
My colored sheets, I usually buy them in 12-inch chunks, a foot. Well, you can get 4 feet, whatever. They can make them up to 4 feet, but they went from about $9, $12 when I first started. Now they're in the $30 to $35 per sheet for that big. And so if I'm making a 6 foot piece and I only need a little piece of that red, I got I'm buying a $30 sheet that I need a couple inches of red off of or something.
Are different colors more expensive?
Yeah, for sure. Pink and red, very expensive. And there's a couple reasons for it. The biggest one is the fees they have to pay for environmental fees, because it is bad for the environment, the dyes they use.
Oh, okay.
And so especially reds and pinks, for some reason they get a lot more costly. And I like to use things that are called dichroic. Dichroic glass is extremely expensive, and usually you buy it in a pound of little tiny broken pieces. And you don't ever know what you're going to get in that bag. So I'll buy a bag of it and put it in the collection, and then I know what I have, so when I'm building something I can use it. But dichroic is amazing because normally you can't see through it, but they have a film on there that really changes and reacts to different light, so it'll give it a rainbow effect or a bubble effect. I mean, you can do anything with it, but it costs to use it, and I love to throw it in anywhere I can. Iridescence, I use iridescence.
Yeah, I was like in there. There's a lot of iridescent in the
Really
border around there.
Yeah, all
and
the whites.
face.
Iridescent white's one of my favorite things to use, because when you backlight it, you don't see it.
Yeah,
but when
exactly.
it's front light, it gives it that opal feel, and it totally changes.
It's pretty incredible too to see. Like, is the cost for iridescent?
It depends.
Versus, like,
the other factor that comes into play is whether it's just what they call art glass or if it's fusible glass, because fusible glass is glass that you melt into other things, and not all glass can be done like that. So, for instance, you can't take a piece of art glass and melt it into a piece of fusible glass, or it'll just not work.
Okay.
And so normal art glass is way more less expensive than what fusible glass is. It can double or even triple the cost to be fusible. If it's a reactive fusible, $35-$40 for a 12-inch square of it.
Wow.
For sure. I got some stuff. Most expensive glass I ever used is this copper cyan dichroic, it was called, and it's only 2 mil, so it's really thin. But it was $650 to get 3 little pieces of it, shipped from the States, of course. Wow. But I had to have it for those pieces that I was hired for up in Dawson Creek that had gold in it, and gold is so hard to find that dichroic was the only thing that was going to work for me.
That's crazy.
For the guy buying it, it wasn't a money is no object situation, but to make it perfect, let's spend a little more, and let's get it right. Let's not cheap out. I had some stuff that's a mirror back and it cost $12, and it kind of would have worked, but it wasn't perfect. We wanted that reaction and that color change. So when you move with it, it changes color. It'll go from green to gold to copper to, it makes it so much different to put that extra little money, extra little time and thought into it.
What is that glass that was really popular in like the 30s?
Uranium?
Yeah. Has
in
there
the
ever been
60s.
stuff done like that?
Yeah, in fact, this guy just wanted me to do, and we never pulled it together, but he really wanted me to make him his business logo out of uranium chips so that it would glow. The problem with that stuff is there's a huge market of collectors. So to buy that and break it is really, I don't want to do that. I don't want to break something or chip up something that's totally collectible and someone's going to love.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, but I have seen lots of it on eBay where it's already broken stuff, and you can buy bags of chips and stuff like that to work with, and it would be fun to work with that for sure. There's nothing wrong with it. It's uranium glass. It does have a very tiny little bit of radiation comes off it, but not enough that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, right.
Not in the days of 5G, anyways.
Yeah, exactly. You also do driftwood art.
Love it. It's really my true passion is working with driftwood, and adding glass, rusty chain, rope, anything I can find that would otherwise be going into a landfill. I'll add it to my sculpture, and it just makes such a cool piece to be able to bring all that stuff that would normally just be garbage or burned up in a fire pit or something. Let's make it into a piece that's gonna stick around for a little longer.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
It's super cool. And the fact that you blend upcycled with it as well is one of the probably the coolest things I love, because I love the concept of upcycling.
I think for me, when I see a rusty old chain and an old piece of driftwood with the beauty of nice shiny glass twinkling with it, there's something about that dichotomy of the old, the rusty, the thrown away, the garbage, and then you bring it to life, like the one I have in the kitchen. I call it the Phoenix for that reason. It was all, everything I found that same day on the beach or in the forest, put it all together into this really cool statue that otherwise it just would have all been scrap and left for dead. Just turn it into something that's really cool, you know? I love it. That's my true passion for sure. Saving something and then turning it into something that people can't believe. I can't believe it half the time.
And it's like, they're always, every single piece of driftwood is so unique.
Ah, man, they have their own story to tell.
And that's kind of where it's like, you have to work with it.
That's why when I made that, I call it that Murder Amongst Friends, and hopefully you'll show some pictures of it. So it's a bunch of crows and some other little characters that I develop, and there's so much story, and even the piece of driftwood that has its name. I've named everybody, and I've written a little storybook that goes with it, so that there's some background. Like the stump, the driftwood stump is a sycamore stump, and sycamore trees are famous for growing around rocks in their roots. Okay. And so this one has actually 7 different rocks that it's grown around over the year. And so in the story, they're called the rocks that'll never roll. And he's Sigmund the Sycamore, and he's got a whole bunch of friends with him doing all kinds of different stuff. So I had to write a little storybook and make sure everybody knows what's going on in my mind when they look at this thing.
Right, but that's what's... Why can't Penticton put that on the beach?
It would get destroyed. It would get destroyed.
Have you seen the art piece that's
Yeah.
on the beach? It's like a square with a hole.
Yeah.
I want to see that there.
It's a bit of a shame. That would get destroyed, unfortunately. But I mean, it would be a great piece in a front hotel lobby or city hall lobby or airport or something like that for sure.
Yeah.
Sadly, a couple of years ago, somebody went and destroyed a bunch of the statues and stole some stuff and did a bunch of vandalism down on our beach. So,
oh, really?
I actually put a proposal to the city this year because I want to build an Ogopogo throne. And I have a spot set up. This is a perfect spot with nothing on. I already got the cement pad, and I was really limited in time to get my proposal together before the deadline. And they really liked the idea, but with the proposal I had, it just wasn't, they couldn't see my vision. So I have until January to put it together, and I think I'm going to build it. And the problem is, if I build it and they don't want it, I got an Ogopogo thrown in my tiny...
Kelowna would probably take it?
Yeah, someone will take it.
Kelowna would take it in a heartbeat.
So.
They love to be the Ogopogo capital. So.
And again, because I'm a glass guy and I have tricks, I know how to make it pretty breakable. And the thought of vandalism is actually the challenge that makes me really want to build it and improve. Like, hey, bring it on, boys. In a way, like I think I can do it. Worst case scenario, they break the tempered glass on the outside, and I just have to replace a piece of temper, and it's no big deal. I do it every day. So. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna build one.
That's a really cool idea.
Yeah. To me, the idea of sitting back in the trees or whatever, and almost a voyeuristic thing of watching people play on this, watching people sit and get their pictures taken in the sunset, and this really cool thing that no one's ever seen of it. I mean, that really gets me going. I'd love to watch people having fun on a piece of my art. And
well, look how much people enjoy the T-Rex.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's like, right, man. Alice, yeah.
The Ogopogo in Kelowna, kids love.
Yeah.
The dolphins people love. They've always got to take photos in front of the dolphins or the sails. So it is, and I think those are like being a tourist destination.
I think it would really be.
It would do really well, and I think the city, just because the city can't see your vision doesn't mean it's not possible. Like I can guarantee when the guy proposed doing a T-Rex. In Penticton, everyone's why?
That's a private guy. That was a private deal. I actually follow Kevin Stone, who made that.
I love it. I think it's awesome.
We go up and walk past it all the time.
I'm like, it's so cool. But like Penticton is very, I'd like to say Penticton is the arts capital of the Okanagan.
It is so full of art and musicians too, man. We got the Dream Cafe, we got the Hub, we got so many cool little local places that are supporting those up and coming artists and obscure artists.
And I think that's what makes Penticton why, like, growing up here, I kind of always like, I got to get out of here. It's not for me.
Small town.
You know, the older I get, I live in Kelowna, and I work half my life is here because of hosting shows and doing interviews and stuff. But the more I come here, not being from here, like not living here anymore, the more I've grown to appreciate.
I tell you what, man,
the beauty.
We were here as youngsters. Grade 1 and 2 I spent here in Penticton. My parents moved us to Dawson Creek from here. I don't know if anybody knows Dawson Creek, but we went from the beach town to the winter town. It's minus 35, minus 40 for months, and cold winds and never-ending, relentless misery. Every 2 weeks for 2 weeks every summer, parents would bring us down here if we were lucky that year, and it was always like coming home, right? All our best friends, my first girlfriend, she even came up and it was my grad date. All our best friends were here, and it was always getting home. So when the opportunity finally came for us, and we were able to sell our house in Salmon Arm and be able to get here, we didn't even know where we were going. We sold our house, had nowhere to go. I spent a couple months just touring around, and we were actually on our way to the island. I thought, the island's a great place for artists. Let's go check out what they got. And there was a little for sale sign just down from this place. Let's check it out. And then once I saw the view, and I thought, this is affordable enough that we could actually live here. It was a no-brainer. I had to get back home, and it's the best decision we've ever made, man. Our life is so full of adventure since we got back here. Every single night's adventure, and my artistic brain has exploded being here, and I love it. This is truly home for the rest of my life, for sure, man.
I love it, because you guys are a power couple. You know what I mean? Like, that's the best way to describe you, is guys. It's like you're both so passionate about what you do, and you support each other back and forth with the passion. And I think like that's really what's lacking in not just society, but relationships and friendships nowadays. It's like that, seeing what somebody you love can do and just backing it because, not because you're going to get a benefit out of it, but because you see what it makes them happy.
29 years we've been doing it, and we still love to wake up beside each other. I love to wake up beside her. She might tell you something totally different, but she still kisses me every morning and says it. So that's good enough for me, man.
That's hilarious. If you had any advice to give an aspiring artist who was to be like, stained glass is something I would want to do, but I don't know where to start, what advice would you give them?
Be prepared to spend some money. If you want to get into stained glass, there's some investment for sure. All the tools and specialty things you need. I mean, you're going to be looking at $1,000 minimum. But if it's something you're really interested in, take a class. There's a lot of places you might not know about it, but go to your local art shop, your local, like we have Handmade Penticton that does art classes here and does stained glass classes. I know another artist here that offers glass classes just to get a feel for it. For $75, $80, you go in and you make a little thing and see if it's for you. And if it is, sky's the limit, man. YouTube will teach you anything you need to know. And there's always someone like me around. Give me a shout, man. I'm happy to share my knowledge to anybody that wants to learn. Free of charge. Come on over. I'll even show you how to do it, and you can use my glass, man. I don't care. I just love to share what I know. And I'm actually helping a friend right now who I've never seen anybody pick it up so fast. She wanted to make something, or she wanted me to make her something for her daughter. And I said, your daughter would love it way more if you made her something yourself. Oh, I'd never be able to. Oh, baloney. I'm going to show you how easy. And within a couple of days, she's got this amazing lotus flower thing almost done. And I've never seen anyone pick it up so fast. So I love that. I love sharing what I know and watching someone else roll with it. Anytime anyone wants to know, give me a call, man.
That's awesome. I love that mentality of artists, mainly from the artists who are willing to teach the skills to the next generation, because that's kind of basically, as I've grown, like I was saying, over the last 11 years, becoming who I am today has been based off of inspiring the next generation, because I don't see a lot of musicians that are younger picking up instruments or guitars or drums, or
unless it's a video game, Guitar Hero.
Right. So it's, for me, it's like we need to inspire them. But the biggest, three biggest things that people in the art industry that are just getting into struggle with is confidence in themselves and what they do, how to get out there, and understanding that what you make isn't going to be for everyone, but the people that enjoy it will enjoy it. Like as a musician, I should not expect people to want to hear my music just because I wrote it. I should be able to give them a reason to want to listen to it, not just because, right? So it's kind of the same thing. And if you're giving back as an artist, I think it makes more sense for the community around you to support you as an artist, because you see the difference between the people who really care about their art versus the people who care about making a buck. And I think that really defines the difference between an artist.
Yeah, it's huge, you know. And I met this indigenous stone carver, taught me a great lesson. And she said that she sells $50,000 marble statues that she carves. And she was at a show where she had this little marble statue, and she was doing an experiment. It was a little horse head or something, and she put $25 on it. And everybody would come by and look, oh, it's beautiful, and put it back down. So a couple hours later, she put $100 on it. And everyone would come, oh, it's beautiful. And by the end of the day, she sold it for $500 because at $500, someone thought it was really special. But at $25, it was just another trinket. I'm the worst for undervaluing myself and my work. I just don't know how to put that dollar value on it. But I know it's worth something more than the average. But how do I get that value? And if I want to sell it, I got to be realistic at the same time. But the cool thing is the internet makes the world a small place. So there's going to be someone out there that appreciates it.
That's where being a business person and a good person who can sell like a ketchup popsicle to a person Mike loves, you know what I mean? Like that's the business end of being an artist, which is very hard.
It's hard, man.
Morally. Because you're like, I know that if I put $500 on that, it's going to sell because people are going to think that this is where the art world, like paintings and stuff. A lot of people think that the art world has to do with money exchanges, right? I care, laundering, because like a piece of art that's painted white canvas is $10 million.
It's mind-blowing.
Just because they put that on there, right? Like
it's a $20 canvas and $6 worth of painting, and it's worth
$9,000. And that's kind of, I think, where like even musicians, we need to, and artists, and like what you're making, like that alone, right there, that should be worth like 20 grand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and there are people, if you can, that they just need to get out there.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is it's kind of crazy to think the price value on art and how we can dive our way through as people morally and trying to sell your artwork is very difficult.
Yeah. That's it. Morally is the thing. How do you put a moral? I don't know. It is one of the hardest obstacles for me to overcome right now, is to get that proper value. But Bruce and the boys, if you're listening and you're interested, I'll give you a heck of a deal.
Right, I guarantee you tag them, put them online, and they blow up. They're so stunning. It's incredible to sit here and look at. Like, I'm still seeing new pieces, and I've
you haven't seen anything
yet.
yet.
You know what I mean? Like, there's so much in here.
Yeah.
It's almost
every table,
mind-blowing.
everything you look at, I've pretty much made. Yeah,
and it's. I don't think there's a word that I can actually describe for how like incredible it is to see how much you've produced.
I get so crazy, like on my deck, I have a bright neon sign or an LED sign on the road there that there's an advertising sign. Super, you don't notice it in the day, but at night it just takes over everything. So I figured out where it is perfectly to my height, and I put some stained glass panels on my deck rail. So now I just have beautiful colors of stained glass glowing all night long instead of this.
That's how I knew it was your place.
Sign. Yeah,
I didn't even look at the number. I just went, oh, stained glass, and that's where I'm going.
That's it.
Yeah. No, it's kind of crazy to see, because it's like, how long have you been doing?
7 years now.
So in 7 years.
Stained glass, yeah.
That's insane.
Just 7 years, man.
7 years, and the sky's the limit. There's no stopping, especially if this is what you're creating on like for fun.
Yeah, just for good times.
Just to think about, like, if you found a collector like Bam Margera or somebody who's like, I want.
That's it. I got
customized set of tables. Like,
that's the point. I can see a hockey player wanting his own throne with his jersey on it or something.
There's so many. There's some like Rene Borks. Rene Borks in Kelowna. Yeah. I did the marble in his house. The dude's awesome. Yeah, but like, there's some incredible people just hiding in the Okanagan. I think that if like they saw it, they would be like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
'cause
let's
it's-
go. I'm always looking for a project.
Right, and that's the thing is too is like commissioning is another insane thing. Like I'm like I kind of want one of my album covers done in glass, so like I'm gonna be convinced the band, boys, we need to start saving
Oh,
up
man,
for the studio. Just like a nice album cover would be awesome,
I'll blow your mind at the cost.
right? Well, I want to thank you for having me
My
and showing
pleasure,
me
man.
your incredible artwork. This is
Thanks, man.
mind blowing, and I can't wait to like take actual some like nice B-roll of it and stuff too
Yeah.
to show the people because it has to be seen.
Awesome,
It has to. So,
I sure appreciate it, man.
well, thank you again for having me.
Maiden rules.
We'll catch you guys next time.
Right on.